Duryodhan, Shakuni, and Dushashan, while sometimes including Dhritrashtra, are widely touted as the villains of the Mahabharata. Bad guys who did bad things to the Pandavas, the heroes of the Mahabharata. Now, this sounds pretty hollow, doesn't it? It's too simple. But not only is it too simple, it's actually wrong. Dhritarashtra, Dushashan, and even Shakuni and Duryodhan are not the villains of the Mahabharata. Hello everyone, I'm Preet, and in today's video, we'll find out who the actual villain of Mahabharata is. So, let's begin. Firstly, we will examine all the potential candidates from the story and list why they should and shouldn't be the villain. So, we have potential 8 candidates. The usual suspects Duryodhan, Shakuni, Dusashan, and Dhritarashtra, along with Karna, Bhishma, Yudhishthir, and finally Krishna. And after discussing, we will have the final answer to our question, who is the real villain of the Mahabharata. So, firstly, Duryodhan. Duryodhan is the most obvious and closest to a villain in the Mahabharata. He hated his brothers, the Pandavas, from his childhood and even tried to poison and kill Bhim when they were just children. He was always jealous of the Pandavas, and when Yudhishthir was declared the crown prince instead of him, he tried to burn all the Pandavas along with their mother and Duryodhan's aunt Kunti in the Lakshagriha. Again, being jealous of Pandava's success in establishing the city of Indraprasth and wanting to have Indraprasth for himself, he invited Yudhishthir to an unfair gambling match where he took advantage of Yudhishthir's honor-abiding nature and took away all his wealth and made all the Pandavas and Draupadi his slaves. Then, in order to take revenge because of a few insulting words said by Draupadi, he ordered his brother Dusashan to drag Draupadi through her hair across the palace and bring her to the court and disrobe her in front of everyone. Then he again unfairly won the second gambling match and exiled the Pandavas for 12 years in forest and 1 year of hiding, where he continuously camped around Pandavas' hut and showed off his wealth and comfort in order to mock them. Then, when Krishna came to Hastinapur as a peace emissary in a final attempt to stop an all out war, Duryodhan insulted him and ordered to capture and imprison him. Even during the battle, which he wanted so badly, he took help of multiple deceitful tactics and broke many rules of war. For example, while killing Arjun's son Abhimanyu. Duryodhan, even as a crown prince, always thought about himself and never others. He refused to share even a needle point of land with his orphan cousins who had no place to live and nowhere to go. All these decisions and events make quite a convincing case for Duryodhan to be labelled as the villain. But let's also look at some of the deeds which could counter that claim. He was a Kshatriya prince raised in a palace, so that did give him some honor. He believed in fighting honorably and even abided by it to some extent. And we can argue that he mostly took the path of deceit under his uncle Shakuni's influence. He was brainwashed by Shakuni from his childhood and was taught the ways of deceits and treachery by him. Duryodhan was petty, ignorant, selfish, jealous, and even a pervert, but he wasn't evil. Shakuni. Shakuni is another easy contender for being the real villain. We can say that he put all the required pieces and rolled the dice in such a way that they led everyone straight into battlefield. He was the mastermind in creating the conflict between the Pandavas and Kauravas. He brainwashed all the Kauravas into hating the Pandavas from their childhood only so that they would fight each other and ultimately destroy the entire Kuru clan of Hastinapur. He wanted revenge from Bhishma, so he stayed in Hastinapur in his sister's in-laws' home for years and destroyed the dynasty from within. He was responsible for all the crimes against Pandavas, from poisoning Bhim to burning the Pandavas and Kunti in Lakshagriha to organizing the gambling match and unfairly taking everything from Yudhishthir to unfairly winning the second match and exiling them to breaking almost every rule of the war and treacherously killing Abhimanyu. He was the planner, the strategist of Duryodhana's all crimes. But he did those things for a very specific reason. Bhishma had threatened his father, King Subal of Gandhar, into marrying his daughter and Shakuni's sister Gandhari to Hastinapur's blind prince Dhritrashtra. Shakuni saw this display of might and power from Bhishma as an insult to Gandhar and an unforgivable injustice to Gandhari, as she would be stuck with a blind man who won't even be the king for entirety of her life. He loved her sister, and so he stabbed his own leg with a knife and never let that wound heal, as a constant reminder to avenge that injustice. So he came to Hastinapur with Gandhari and plotted the downfall of the entire Kuru clan from within. Shakuni was vengeful, cunning, treacherous, and deceitful, but he also wasn't evil. Dushashan. Dushashan is another easy contender for being the villain. He arguably did the most heinous thing in the entire story by dragging his sister in law Draupadi by her hair across the palace and trying to publicly disrobe her in the gambling hall. He also actively supported Duryodhan and Shakuni in all their unfair and deceitful tactics. Dushashan was Duryodhan's blind follower and did everything he said without questioning him at any instance. He never actually thought about anything. He just kept following his elder brother's orders, and just like Duryodhan, he was also brainwashed by Shakuni from childhood into hating the Pandavas. So, Dushashan's problem was more about ignorance rather than being plain evil. Dhritrashtra. Dhritrashtra presents a curious case in the court of being touted as the villain of Mahabharata. On one hand, he was the king of the entire Hastinapur but cared only about his children. He was literally blind as well as metaphorically blind in child love. He turned a blind eye to his sons who got away unpunished with all sorts of deceitful and pervert behaviors. He was the king of Hastinapur but disobeyed the king's duties in almost every stage of his life and just cared about his own personal gains as well as his sons. He didn't do his duty as a parent also and raised morally hollow children. But his life was also a tragedy. He was born blind. He was the eldest son, yet he was denied the crown because of his blindness. So it was natural for him to wish that his sons would get something that he himself deserved. He did truly love his sons and even his uncle Bhishma, as well as Pandu and Vidur, but his blind ambition and love for his children came in the way of his honorable side and made him a spectator to so many disasters done by his own sons. Dhritarashtra was selfish and arrogant, but once again, he wasn't evil. Now, you guys tell me, who do you think out of these four is the real villain of the Mahabharata? Write all your thoughts in the comment section below. We will discuss Karna, Bhishma, Yudhishthir and Krishna as well as the final answer and explanation in part 2 of this video, which will be released tomorrow. Hit the bell icon so that you are notified when part 2 drops so that you won't miss it. And if you are watching it anytime after tomorrow, then it will be already out and you can see it right now. You can watch these other videos of mine as well. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Relevant Myths and share it to everyone you know. Thank you for watching and have an awesome day.